This is a situation of disguised writing. This was a case up in, it was in Riverside County several years ago. The question was, did someone sign a contract with a real estate agent? Then he went out and bought a house, didn't pay the commission, but of course if you sign the contract, if you go out and buy a house on your own, you still owe the commission. So the real estate company sued him. When I did the examination and looked at it under a microscope, what I could see is that in his known signature, the way he would write the letter E was a stroke and then he'd come back over it. He didn't put a loop in the signature. But if we look at the known signatures, he would make that, and then the next letter was an S, and that started separately. It wasn't a continuous. And so on these known signatures, we can see this letter E, and then we can see the beginning of the S. And this is under a 40-power microscope. When we look at the question signature, we can see that the way the letter E was made was a stroke, space to the S, but then this little loop was added. We can see that is a separate stroke. He added that in order to disavow the signature. Now, just last year I found out the result of this case because I got a call from the attorney who was on the other side. He said, "You probably don't remember me, but you were on the other side of a case and you beat us." So he retained me on a case he had. But so I know, so apparently this arbitration went in favor of the attorney who retained me. So what I'd like you to do is a little exercise. I'd like you to just pick up a pen and a piece of paper and just try to write your name differently from the way you normally write it. So the question is, was that easy? No. Yeah, you have to think about it. So what that means is that if you wanted to learn how to disguise your writing, you're going to have to practice. You're going to have to practice a lot in order to do it. You can't just sit down and sign that contract and say, "Oh, that wasn't me." Or sign the check and that wasn't me. So this is a case went to trial downtown here in San Diego a few years ago. The question was, I was retained by the defense. The plaintiff was saying it was an employment case. I did not sign those employment documents. Well, when I did the examination, I had to say to the attorney who retained me, "You know, it's a signature. He didn't sign the documents." These are what are called cut and paste. This one has a red signature over the black one. You can't see that, can you? Because they're exact replicas. Now, when they were placed on using Photoshop or Photo Paint or some other software to create the document, notice they put them different relationships to the signature line, figured that would fool people. In this situation, we could say that one of those was a replica of the other two, or all three of those were a replica of a fourth that we haven't seen. We don't know the answer to that. In cross-examination, the other document examiner admitted that he took some of the signatures and stretched them so that they would actually comport with each other. So I don't know what happened with that case, but it was interesting. But this is a case where we have what's called cut and paste. Someone takes a legitimate signature, extracts it, uses software to lay it down on top of another document, and says, well, and when you say I need to see the original, well, there is no original. Of course there's no original. The original happens to be an electronic version of it. On this one, they did a good job. They're all exact replicas of each other. So we don't know whether two are a replica of the third or all three are a replica of the fourth. We haven't seen. This is another cut and paste job. This was a federal case out of New Mexico. The question was, were these documents signed by these people at different times? But when you extract out this section of the document, lay it out on top of each other, allowing for little deviations because it was multiple generation photocopies. That's why you see a little bit of difference, but they're exact replicas.